Once upon a time, all good stories begin with once upon a time. Once upon a time, there was a Girl Scout troop that I was a member of. We did all kinds of fun things beyond simply getting badges. We went places. We took trips to places like this, Joy Hollow in Iowa. We went to places in South Dakota and Iowa and Minnesota and Nebraska. But we really wanted to go to Disney World. So we made plans to go there. Knowing it would require a lot of work, the troop was still up to the challenge. We sold lots and lots and lots of cookies. But just selling cookies wasn't going to get us to Disney World. There were car washes and donations and a few other things. But after a few years, we finally had the funds to go. The thing was, we were going to get there by train. Our trip began in Omaha at the Amtrak station there. Unfortunately, that first train was over 5 hours late. We should have known this would be a memorable trip then. Eventually, it arrived and our group was off. Well, until about 3 hours in when the train stopped in the middle of a field somewhere in Iowa. There we sat for a couple more hours. There's a rumor that something broke or something became detached, but I never really found out what it was. Nevertheless, we were off again, arriving in Chicago so late that we missed our connecting train. That left the group spending the night in downtown Chicago in a hotel skyscraper amidst all the other skyscrapers. The next day, we had hours of free time on our hands until our next train. So we spent the day touring, going to the top of Steers Tower, taking a tour ferry along the river and out to Lake Michigan. That night, we did get on our next train, which was also extremely late. See a pattern here? The next morning, we woke up in Pittsburgh, only to be ushered off the train and sent by bus to Washington, D.C. Supposedly it was faster and would make sure we meet our next connecting train. This was my first trip to our nation's capital. Can you barely see the White House there? The train station in Washington is gigantic. It looks like a monument itself. But, as you can guess, our train in Washington was late. Naturally. Finally, that evening, we boarded our last train, destined for Orlando. So you wonder, did we actually get there? Sure we did. But the second we stepped off that train, we were greeted with a local TV news crew at Orlando. Ours was the last train to head into the station because Amtrak workers were about to go on a strike. We had a great time in Disney World, made a lot of amazing memories, and got to experience some fun with some of my closest school friends. We were there about 3 or 4 days, but to be safe, you can't imagine, we left by plane. If there is a moral to the story, it is in that widely said phrase, it is the journey, not the destination.